too small, I got big dreams.
All right, Team Pun Fun, get your passports ready. We're heading to the Philippines to visit Osh Red. Hey, Osh Red.
Hey.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Pun Fun, where we have fun with the puns. My name is Ryan, and we're here with Osh Red. Hey, Osh Red, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening from the Philippines, actually.
Yes, and good morning from Canada. It's quite the time difference, but we made it work, which is awesome. So if you guys are not familiar with Osh Red, she is a digital illustrator. She's also done comic book covers, such as, her more recent one was the Recount preamble, and also the Phantom Star Killer and Count Draco. So we'll put those up so you can see what those are. So Osh Red, so Osh Red.
Yes.
Is that your actual name, or is this an alias that you use as an artist?
It's an alias that I use as an artist, actually. My full name is Shanti Red Amparo. I don't like it when people call me by my first name, so most people call me Red.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Very
Yes.
awesome, just like in Pokemon with the red and blue. I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, how original. But there you go. That's very, very cool. And can you give us more of your cultural background?
Born and raised in the Philippines.
Okay.
I was born somewhere in the north in a place called Pasig. It's in Pasig City. And then when I was very young, my parents moved to Davao City, which is in the south. So,
Okay, wow.
you know, yeah,
Quite the transition. Is there a big cultural difference between the north and the south?
I think that the difference is slowly narrowing, but you'll find that like in the north, it's like, more high-rise buildings and stuff like that.
Okay.
Meanwhile, down here in Davao, it's still very much this city by the sea, plonked in the middle of a
very awesome.
rainforest kind of feeling. But yeah,
Okay,
it's
very
great
cool.
here though.
And how many years would you say you've been drawing or creating art?
It depends on what you mean by that exactly, because I've actually been drawing ever since I was a kid.
Right.
Right? Yeah, I started digital art when I was about 13 years old, and by that I mean I opened up MS Paint and started drawing with the mouse
Okay.
on my mom's laptop.
Very cool.
Yeah. I started taking it slightly more seriously when I was about 16.
Okay.
2016, I started studying it even more seriously. So I think you might know this, but like I actually studied under Stanley Artgerm Lau, so I was one of his students.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So in 2016, I enrolled at 3D Sense Media School, where he was my teacher for a lot of my illustration classes.
Wow.
And I finished with the illustration diploma. So it's like a very intense 1-year course, right?
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So thank you very much. But yeah, so since 2017, I've been trying to put all my time, all my effort into making it as a freelance illustrator, and this is where we are now.
That is very awesome. As you see in the back, this is some of the work. So this is a video we did previously on Inprint regarding some of the prints you can get on by Inprint, which we'll have the links below. We also have an Artgerm piece here. Speaking of Artgerm, how was he as a teacher?
He's fantastic, actually. He's incredibly funny. He's incredibly cool with the students. He's like really kind, but you have to you kind of have to give your best in classes, otherwise he's gonna tease you a little bit. So he would make fun of me, he would make fun of my name, and he used to tease me a lot for painting primarily in black and white and stuff like that, so you'll see that a lot of my works are still pretty monochromatic. I haven't grown out of it yet, but yeah. But he was great. He was really great. Probably one of the kindest teachers that I've ever had. He treats you to lunch, It's
Oh yeah.
cool.
That is very cool. And when did you know that, or what is it that evoked this transition from being a hobby to a profession?
I don't know, actually. I always felt as though I wanted to be some kind of creative. Like when I was younger, I was always interested in drawing, writing, that sort of thing. And I always felt that whatever I wanted to do in the future, I would want it to be like a sort of creative pursuit, right? And initially, actually, when I first enrolled in university, this was like, you know, before I studied Understand, I went in for a bachelor's degree in English with a major in creative writing. So I actually wanted to be a writer at first. Yeah, but it was kind of funny because most of my time during my university years was actually spent like designing like event posters for like whenever we would have like plays in the theater as like writing students, or I would design the book covers for my classmates, their thesis, you know, like their books and stuff like that, so their novels. So yeah, and then at some point I just figured, okay, this is like going somewhere that I really wanted to, and I kind of shunted aside the writing thing completely and threw everything into art. Yeah, I was already kind of earning money even as a hobbyist. Sort of, you know, so it was a very natural transition, I feel. Yeah,
this was like the next step, if you will, in your path. Oh, very cool. So because you were into the writing and definitely into the, you know, art and creative part, would you ever consider making a comic of your own?
I have tried several times, and I think, you know, I'm not sure that I have the stamina for it. I have really tried. I feel as though I'll have to be it requires like a different sort of mental strength, I think, to really, you know, be able to like
push out.
Put so much effort into like writing the whole thing and then be drawing so many pages, so many panels, that sort of thing. I have only so much energy, and then I can put out like a pretty cool cover, but those people who work in comics are really different. Like they're I don't know what it is, like in terms of like
it's like a breed of their own.
They're like they're more like tanks or something, you know?
They just keep going. I absolutely see that, and that's something I admire as well, from the creators, especially those who do both, you know, the art and drawing. It's I don't know how you guys do it. Speaking of comic books, what were your earlier influences, or that got you into comic books to begin with?
This is funny, but I think because, like, you know, I live in Asia and everything, the manga and anime influence is like quite a bit stronger here, actually. So I actually started out reading a lot of manga, like, for example, you know, like the kind of edgier, darker stuff like Death Note or something. Stuff like that. And then when I was a little bit older, I got into a lot of I got into Sandman, you know, by Neil Gaiman and stuff. And
that's very dark.
I don't know, I was a little bit of an edgy kid. I think you can still see that in my artwork these days.
Absolutely. So when you did your cover for the Recount preamble, how do you get all that together in terms of, well, you know, getting it out? Because you've shown us, you provided a sketch version where it's very, you know, outlined. We can kind of already see a bit of what the art piece would look like, but then when you actually see the finished work, it's completely, you know, it's off the chains. It really is a beast on its own, because there's a lot of duality and there's a lot of, you know, that's going on. So how would you start a piece like that in terms of art process, or even just thought process?
Art process or thought process? Well, let me see. I remember that when I was actually given the prompt, it was came from my agent, and he said, what he said was like, okay, you can just draw this character, right? Like, he handed me a sample of the comic, and then he told me, oh, you can just draw this character, do your usual thing, whatever you want, right? So I was given a lot of creative freedom, actually. And
great.
And I noticed in the story that like we get like this shift in the character, you know, like he starts out as like one sort, and then he becomes like a different personality towards the end of it, and I really wanted to portray that duality, you know. And I feel as though in a lot of my works I want to show as much contrast as possible. So you know, normally you'll have like one character who's like a little bit cute or something, but then they have like a total dark side to them, and I wanted to have something similar for this character as well, because it was right there in the story, you know. And I remember that the clown mask in the
Yes.
story was especially striking as a visual, and I wanted to find a way to incorporate that. So of course I wanted to show the character kind of like ripping off the mask to show that there were like two different sides to him,
Very
you
cool.
know. And so when I sent this off to my agent, he says, okay, this is looking really cool, I want you to also bring in like a little bit of military gear on like the other side,
Okay.
right? To really show the contrast between like the dude in the suit and like the guy who eventually comes to wear the clown mask and the
Right.
military gear, you know. So it was like really split the character in half. So I
Wow.
did that, yeah. And then I added like a bunch of streaks to show him kind of like as if he's like fading away a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, something like that.
Very cool.
But yeah,
And even the flag, reversed on the side.
yes,
Very,
yeah.
yeah, that's very, very, very cool.
Yeah, very symbolic for that sort of thing. Yeah, apparently, my agent assured me that that sort of thing is not meant to be like a political statement, but just, to show the nation in distress, as he put it.
Mention even the smile. So on the mask,
Yes,
it's blatant. You see this big smile, but in the background,
yes,
he is, not smiling at all. He's not even neutral. He's just there. He's just, seeing life
yeah,
pass
yeah.
by, I guess. So
Yeah.
like it's great that you're able to get that contrast and still have the person see, again, you're seeing two different people, but with one piece. So very well done.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Um,
But yeah,
so for that piece, because in the beginning I thought a lot of what you were doing was paint work, in
mm.
terms of like actual like painting it out, um,
Oh,
and in this case it's digital, right?
yes, all my work is digital.
That's crazy. Like I would swear like there was actual like paint strokes and stuff. So that is crazy. And have you ever ventured into the traditional, or have you always enjoyed the digital side of
Oh,
art creating?
Actually, my background is in traditional work. So when I was younger, I actually did a lot of work in oil painting, actually.
Okay, wow.
So I took a little bit of time training up in oil painting. Like when I was about 16, I
Wow.
I took some lessons. I also did a lot of work primarily in pencil and in ink. But
Okay.
the thing about like using traditional materials, as I'm sure a lot of artists who work with traditional media will tell you, is that like the materials can be very expensive.
Oh
you
yeah,
know
for sure.
yeah, so it's very expensive to like buy canvases, to keep getting like really nice paper that will like hold up under all the
Right.
strain that you put it through. And yeah, I mean, you can definitely get like cheaper materials, but like I at the time just didn't have the resources to
Yeah.
get them. It was so much easier to like work from the computer, that sort of thing.
So having this two-toned colors, so now you have the reds and you have the blues, even if it's just, for example, a fully blue piece, how is it that you set up in your mind to have, this canvas, or not this canvas, but like this array of blues to, portray the depth, the shadowing, and bring out the light? Because a lot of your piece, although it sometimes there's some shadowing and kind of dark in the background, there is a lot of light that is being shone. You can see where the light is coming from. So how do you set yourself up to figure out, okay, this is where the dark areas are, this is where the light is, and then tone it out with your shades of blue, if you will?
Um, well, like I said, one of my favorite things to work with is contrast, right?
Right.
So I always like working with contrast, and the way that I usually arrange my pieces is like I try to figure out where exactly do I want the most focus, right? Like where do I want the viewer to be
Right.
looking at the most, and how do I arrange the other shapes, like if they are dark shapes or light shapes, how do I arrange them around the piece to bring the most focus to where I want them to look? It's the same thing with the red and the blue. Most of the time you'll
Right.
see me using red in the areas where I want the viewer to look directly, right?
Right.
So say for example, the recount preamble piece, the cover that I did for that, I used the red specifically only on the nose, only on the
Right.
nose and only on the tie of the character, because that's where I want to draw the most focus, right? So, and then I
Very
arrange
cool.
everything else around that, right? And everything else is just, I am basically still just working in black and white, except there's just a hint of blue in there, right?
Right. Very cool.
And yeah, and
Wow.
depending on how dark or how light the actual thing is, that's how much bluer or how less blue I'm gonna make it. Those sorts of decisions are things that I try to weigh in depending on what the piece at the moment demands. But
Right.
now, if you're asking about like, do I have a set palette or do I decide at the moment? It's both. I have
Right.
something called like in Photoshop or in like other painting software, you have like a gradient map. So say for
Right.
example, if you paint in like black and white, right? You can assign different colors to like zone in on like the black areas. I don't know if you get what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but
you
like
can
I
like
can
associate them or link them, if you will.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, that's it. So like this particular shade of blue, I wanted to go onto this like particular shade of black or something, and
Wow.
that's how I keep most of my works looking consistent. It
Yeah.
might not be for everyone, because like I realize that a lot of people will feel like it's a little bit too samey, everything looks super blue or whatever. But I don't know, I've just figured out that this is exactly the way that I like my work, and I bring in other colors like more reds, more purples when I want to, bring in like a little bit of
Pop a
contrast.
color. Oh, that's
Yeah,
that's amazing. And I mean, the style itself, like for someone to just look at a piece or say it's similar to another because of the tone of it, they're really definitely missing the mark. Because I can for one, this is where I see it's even more complex, because having to work with one, if you will, one color or one hue, if you will, and then make the illusion of having that contrast of a background or juxtaposition in your art, it's well done and amazingly done. And I know you joke about this, but like we talked about blues, we talked about reds. Will there ever be other colors that you'll be going into tones?
I mean, we'll have to see. I actually feel as though I'm working up the courage to work purely in black and white in the future. I feel as though I'm not completely ready for it, because I know that a lot of people will shy away from like purely black and white work. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I feel as though in the past I experimented enough with a lot of palettes, and I'm really happy to have found a favorite, if nothing else.
No, very cool. And even the black and white can be made like a more exclusive thing. So you have like the blues and reds or your traditional style, and then maybe for like a certain cover or something that's very specific, maybe you try on the black and white. I think that'd be amazing.
Like a special edition.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be great. It definitely will be different, but then you will still see your style, and I'm sure people will jump on it for sure. Speaking of future projects or future colors, do you have any future projects coming up for yourself?
For myself, well, I am always in the process of like working on a new series, so definitely I'm thinking of doing like a personal series with like characters that I've come up with in my own like universe or something like that.
Okay, cool.
That's a little bit private, but it is definitely coming out soon.
Very
But
cool.
as always, I do like the idea of coming out with like more characters for desktop wallpapers for my supporters and stuff. So
Right.
yeah.
So you talk about supporters. This is on your Patreon, right? Where they can actually
that's
get
right.
a preview of all of your work that you see on your social media beforehand, and they also get treated to some exclusive material as well.
Yes, definitely. The people who support me on Patreon, they get access to my work like 1 to 2 months before I release it
wow.
on social media.
Okay.
Yeah. And they get like works in progress and like in-depth look at like my process for my different illustrations. And occasionally, if they're the type to commission me for a personal piece, I give them a discount. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. And would they have to be on your Patreon to get a commission, or are there other places that they get a commission from?
Well, they can check out the works that I've already done on OshRedArt.com, and then they can send me an email actually at OshRedArt@gmail.com to contact me about a commission.
That is very cool. And in terms of I know we talked about the digital versus the traditional. The commissions, would they be strictly digital, or it can be either one or the other depending on their preference?
I am currently only doing digital commissions. I would do traditional commissions, but I find that like shipping here can be a little bit unreliable. To the Philippines, it's a little bit far away from where.
I can definitely see it. No, absolutely. Even from like, for example, here to Canada to the US, which is we're neighbors. Sometimes it it's such a
Oh
hassle
yeah.
and it's crazy. So yeah, I can definitely see why having the digital be the way to go by all means.
Mhm.
I think you've got it. And for any aspiring artist that either is wanting to get into the world of comics or that is currently into it but is trying to find kind of like their style, because that's something that I've seen also you discuss is finding homing into what is your style, or
Mhm.
that whole like, oh, what am I in the world of comics in terms of like what is my style going to be, how do I differentiate
Mhm.
myself to everybody. So
Mhm.
what are OshRed's words of wisdom for any artists out there?
Um, uh, I would say that like one of the most important things for me as a growing artist was finding a community, So like getting out there on social media, or like making contact with local artists whom can like give you advice in regards to like what kind of field you're trying to get into, or like
Right.
you know people whom you can ask advice regarding your work, and that you can also give advice to, because the best way to learn something is to teach it to somebody else,
Right.
right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, find yourself a community, and also spend a lot of time like thinking about yourself, thinking about like what are your habits, what are your personality quirks, what gets you really excited when it comes to art, because like
Wow.
so many artists spend so much time, I think, just like grinding on the technical stuff of the art, that they forget to think about like why exactly am I doing this. And when you figure those things out, it makes the grinding at the technical stuff go a little bit smoother, I think. Yeah. And try everything, I would say. Yeah, try
Wow.
try to draw everything.
At least once, and then try to like put your toes into everything, but then the one that
Yeah,
you prefer the best.
absolutely. Yeah. I was
Okay.
drawing airplanes and trucks at some point, just
Really?
FYI.
I didn't know that. Well, there you go. See, I mean, from Wanda to even the recounts from trucks and planes. I mean, there's definitely a big duality, but yeah, I guess you won't know until you try, as they always say, and it really holds truth, right? It's very cool, very very cool. And before we usually go, we embarrass our guests with one last request, which is, can you leave us with a pun?
Oh no! Oh no!
The panic
No.
is there. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I put all my skill points into art. I don't know any puns off the top of my head. What am I supposed to do?
Let's see. What can we use as a pun? I know you talked about like tomatoes and and flowy things at some point.
Yeah. Yes, because my icon used to be like this little tomato. So like I would usually leave a tomato emoticon at the end of my social media posts, and it worked too because it's around like the Osh Red thing.
Oh yeah, no, that works perfectly, and it works also with the nose for your clown. See,
Oh
it
yes.
comes full circle, comes for a circle.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But maybe I can help you out with a pun. Maybe it can be like, hey, we'll catch up another time.
How about recount? More like, can I retake this entire episode because I can't think of a pun?
There you have it, folks. No, this was great. Thank you for coming on, by the way. This was a great interview. We definitely wish you much success, going forward. We're definitely going to support, all of your work, and anybody and everybody who wants to see more of OshRed, you can definitely check it out in our description below. If you've enjoyed this episode, by the way, you can go ahead and hit those thumbs up. You can also subscribe to our channel. This way you stay on top of all of our either new discovered artists, independent artists, and even our, I guess, experienced and long-term artists on our show. We're all about, supporting the artists who support the comics, who in the end, it's all make this crazy beautiful world that we have. And we just want to sign off by saying, take it easy, guys. Take care.